Hi, I'm Joy, and right now I'd like to talk about death and making peace with death. So, obviously, this is a little bit of a heavy subject, and especially if you have not gotten to the point yet of making peace with death. So, there are a few things that I'm going to touch on in this video. I'm going to talk about grieving and, different ways you can work with that. I'm going to talk about um, just my experience with making peace with the death of people in my life. And I'm going to talk about my experience of making peace with my own death. And, I know I'm going to die someday. And there have been times in the not too d- um, distant past where I thought it might even be pretty soon. So I'm going to talk about all that. Okay, so the reason I want to talk about the subject of grieving just in general is because I really want to point out that grieving is a super personal, individual thing, and there's no wrong way to do it. Like, there are tools that people can use to help themselves move through it, and, different things that can help support the process. And, if you are in a position, if you're grieving, then it might be helpful to, read a book about grief, go to a support group, talk to a grief counselor or therapist, um, just learn more about it just in general. I, I really like IFS, which stands for Internal Family Systems. I really like that just in general for all sorts of things, but it's really good for grief. And there are a variety of things that you can do to make it a bit easier for yourself to flow with the grieving process. So I'm not saying that, however it is, you're just like stuck with that. However, like it is like grieving, you can learn skills and tools that will help you with grieving, is what I'm saying. However, having said that, grieving is a super personal thing and there's no wrong way to do it. Like, whatever you find you need to do, whatever's right for you, that's fine. you know um, I do recommend, doing what you can to support yourself through the process, but if something's not resonating with you, and you know it just isn't helping you where you are in your grief, then that's okay. Find something else or do something else. So whatever I'm talking about in this video is just my own perspective, my own experiences, and I know that it's not going to resonate with everybody, and that's okay. So I'm not telling you that you should think the way I do or should experience grief and like making peace with death the way I do. Um, if it resonates, great, and if it doesn't, then I hope you find something else that, well, there's a part of me that's like, whatever it is that you need to do, whatever works best for you, then that's for you. Okay, so some tips that I will give about the grieving process are, first of all, it's a very physical thing, and I think it's important to let your body lead the process. Your body has some innate wisdom about what it needs, and if kind of let your body lead, it, I think, can can help take care of you during the grieving process, and also, try to take care of your body too. So if it feels like you need rest, great, but do make sure that you're like eating enough, sleeping enough. Um, like in the early stages of severe like grief, it, appetite can absolutely be impacted. Um, what I have found is that if I allow it, my body will just move itself and like eat and, whatever else I need to do. Um, so, I mean, there have been times when I have just been along for the ride in like very early grief stages. And that's a beautiful thing. That my body would just take care of itself while I was experiencing whatever it was that I was experiencing at the time. And I've found that there are some supplements that for me personally I have taken, like ashwagandha. It like is good for times of stress just in general, and grief is definitely a stress on the body. So I have found that taking ashwagandha helps me. I like Shaktivardi, yeah, Shaktivardi as well, but I have not. Well, actually, I have. So that's another one that I like to take, and I am personally a big fan of L-tryptophan, um, like as needed. I will say with L-tryptophan though that you can't take it with an SSRI. So, if you're taking any medications, just, look up the interactions with L-tryptophan before taking L-tryptophan. Um, and even the supplements, not right for everybody. Just trust yourself. Whatever you think you need. Um, I am not somebody who believes that it's a good idea to just like medicate away grief. Like I think it's something that it's something you kind of have to go through. The way out is through. Um, However, for me personally, I find that taking L-tryptophan every so often is just something that I need to do just in general. So during times of grief, it's kind of similar, or I might need to take a little bit more, and that's okay. So, whatever I need, that's what I do. Um, as for what I just said, the way out is through. I think a lot of people are walking around with unprocessed grief. And, you know, repression is a survival skill. Humans have to be able to repress things sometimes in order to like function in life, in order to be safe. So no judgment, but I mean, like, I'm not judging the fact that people repress a lot of grief. Um, but, if you're able to create space for the grieving process, or hold space for the grieving process, if you're able to learn tools to help with grief, then it can help process that. Because what happens when you repress grief is that it exhausts you. Like, um, it's very energy consuming to repress big things. So if you're able to just go ahead and go through the process, instead of repressing it, then it'll take a lot of energy up front, because it does take energy to grieve. Um, However, in the long run, you'll be able to have a new start, that doesn't feel right. In the long run, you know, whatever the new normal ends up being, you know, whatever life ends up being down the road once you are in the later stages of grieving, or at the point of acceptance and, you know, just moving forward with your life, you will have more energy for life then because it won't be tied up trying to hold back the grief. And if you are repressing any grief, and I think most people are, some people a really significant amount of grief, if you learn some tools to help you move through it or are able to create some safety in your life so that so that it can come up, so that you can go ahead and move through the grieving process, at, you know, at that point, then it can free up a lot of energy that you have not had available to you while you were working unconsciously to keep that grief repressed. So I, you know, I do see value, obviously, in doing whatever processing of grief you can when you can. My experience has been that it's a little different every day, and even like throughout the day sometimes. You know, like if you're processing grief, it's really natural as a human to have this fear that if you feel something really bad, it's going to last forever and you're going to get stuck there. And that's just not how it works. The only way to get stuck is to resist it. But if you just let it move and just, you know, accept that it is what it is in the moment and know that it isn't going to stay that way, it does move, it does change. And, um, you know, some days are harder than others, but it doesn't stay. Like it gradually gets better over time for the most part. So when I've lost people in my life, like there are two primary ones. My best friend from high school died while I was in my early 20s. And then one of my best friends in life died just a few years ago. And I was in a very different place each of those times to, you know, experience those losses. And I'm at a point now where I kind of don't really experience. There's a part of me that's like holding back out of a concern for invalidating somebody else's experience. And that is the last thing that I want to do. But like I said at the beginning, it's a very individual experience, and this will resonate with some people and not with others. But I don't really see anything as like something that can be lost in life. Like if it's ever existed, in a way, it kind of always does. And if somebody was important to me, in a way, they're kind of always a part of me and always with me. And I can kind of just like tune into their energy and just be with it. And when I'm doing that, I'm with them. And that can be a comfort. But mostly just knowing that it's all part of the same like oneness, the same like source energy. Like like matter and energy like change forms, but like energy is never created or destroyed. And matter is energy. So it's all like coming from and going back to like the same uh, overall like pool of energy. You know, it's all the source energy. So so we're all just source. Everything is source. This is source. And you know, my friends, they're source, and I'm source, um, and in a way, like we're always one, and I'm always with them, and I can kind of tune into that, and that can be a nice place to rest for a little while. Um, but just knowing that, you know, it's like that is a comfort to me as well. And um, when once I reached this point of recognizing that, once I experienced oneness, essentially, like once I actually had the experience of oneness, I could see that everything that's ever happened and everything that ever will happen is perfect the way it is, even the painful stuff. It's all part of the same complex web of cause and effect relationships. It's all existence. And there's a beauty in it, even when it's really painful. And that's just on a certain level. On another level, like I used to be able to hang out with that person and hug that person, and now I can't. And there's some pain there. There's a feeling of separation, and just acknowledging that when it comes up, and you know, those hurting parts of myself, just holding them in love and loving them has been really helpful for me. And I have this perspective. You know, both of my friends that died when they were young, in their 20s, and and I've had other friends that have died too. It's just those were the two that were closest to me. And people would say like he went too soon, and my perspective is that if it happened the way it did, then that was the right time. That's what happened. um, you know, he came here and lived for a while, and it's such an honor to have had him in my life. And her, my other friend too. It's such an honor that I got to be a part of that, and um, you know, share experiences during that time. And he did everything that he came here to do. And if he hadn't yet, then he'd still be here, but he's not. So he did everything that he came to do. And it's not for me to decide when the right time for someone else to go is. It's not my decision. That's between them and life, between them and the universe. And I don't have to understand it in order to honor it. So I celebrate knowing that I had this person in my life, and you know, we had all these beautiful experiences together and all of these touching moments and like just fun. And you know, they made an impact on me that's not going away just because they're not in physical form anymore right now. um, and not just on me, on other people too. You know, their impact on the world is long felt, and and that can't be removed like ever. Like, you know, everything that happens is interconnected to like countless other things. So, you know, it's you know, their impact will always be felt in a way as long as the universe exists, or certainly as long as the world exists, at least. I don't know. I'm getting a little bit tangenty, I guess, maybe, but that feeling of just having been so grateful that they were ever around, and having, you know, just being really grateful to have had them in my life is, when I think about them now, it's the main thing that I feel. Now, for making peace with my own death, a lot of the same concepts still apply, but there's also this fear of the pain that my death could cause for other people. And, you know, parts of myself um, would feel scared and sad about that idea. And, you know, I had to really be with those parts and love those parts, and um, you know, just tell those parts that I'll always be with them no matter what. And I I can't always understand how one event is going to impact others. Um, and like search for like reason, like trying to make sense out of all of it is a very human thing. And I just acknowledge that I don't know and I can't understand. But like if I were to die, and you know other people had to grieve my loss, um, well, that's their journey and their path, and it's hard. But I have the same faith that things happen the way they need to happen for whatever reason. And it's not much of a comfort unless I, you know, except for having had that experience of oneness, um, and seeing, you know, the perfection, feeling the perfection of it all from that state. I draw my faith and my peace about all of these things from having had that experience. And I can still go into it now when I like want to or need to, or it's so it's transcendence, right? To experience oneness. And while I can go into that state, like if I want to, I don't do it very often because I figure I'm here in physical form right now for a reason. And that reason is to experience life as me in this form, and all the complexities and strangeness and wonder and beauty and pain and pleasure of all of it. And, you know, as long as I'm here, I'm just going to like really give myself to it, you know? Like I will experience plenty of oneness after I die. Like I can just like I don't need to live there now, you know. I know it's there. I know I can go into it if I want to or need to. Um, and it sure feels nice sometimes, but I don't do it very often because I'm doing this now. You know, I've got like all this wood to chop and water to carry, so to speak. And I've got this life to live. So basically, while I'm here, I'm going to live my life fully, and when it's time to go, all right, it's time to go. And um, like, it hurts to think about people that I care about having to grieve me when I'm gone. um, but I can comfort those parts of myself and know that it too is part of the oneness and the perfection of life, and that the fabric of existence is love, and it's all love. And the reason, like I said, that I can experience that is because that I know that is because I've had that experience. So I came to a point in recent years. I had a head injury and couldn't work for a little while, and exhausted my retirement savings, and then just like was a big mess for a little while. And my life was a big mess for a little while. And I traveled around and slept on people's couches. And I was very fortunate in that I never had to sleep outside, never had to go hungry. I am very grateful for the people who took care of me when I couldn't take care of myself. It was a beautiful experience in a lot of ways, and it was a really painful experience in a lot of ways. But it was also pretty scary because a lot of times, didn't know how I was going to survive. Sometimes I didn't know where I would be sleeping that night. And when that happened, I had this approach, this philosophy about it, that if there's something that I really need, life will give it to me, bring it to me in some form or another. That could be through my own actions, as life flows through me out into the world, or it could be life bringing it to me, or it could just be the way events line up. So, one way or another, if I really need something, life will bring it to me because life always meets my needs. And if I starve to death, that just means that I didn't need to live anymore. So, if I don't have food, I didn't really need to have food. And that's what I would call radical acceptance. It's very radical. And in coming to that place was extremely freeing for me because I had done a lot of things that I absolutely did not want to do, like working jobs that were really bad for me, for example. Um, just for the sake of survival. And once I made peace with not needing to be alive anymore, like, oh, I don't actually like have to do this, it freed me up to be like, all right, life, if you want to keep me around, you're gonna have to help me out here. Um, I cannot do life the way I used to do it. I cannot continue to work jobs that are so bad for me. I don't have it in me anymore. Um, and and I am at peace with dying now. So if that's what happens, that's okay. But I'm not going to work those kinds of jobs anymore. I would rather die. And that being the case, it put me in a different position to do work that I love, and I do work that I love. I absolutely, I'm, I'm thrilled about the work that I'm doing now, and and I feel like I'm thriving for the first time in my life, and it's beautiful. So making peace with death kind of gave me an ability to actually live life, to really give myself to life, and not hold back so much from life. Like, well, I'm here for a little while, might as well, like, really, really do it. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to really do it. And also, since I'm not afraid of dying, I can, do it the way I want to do it. and, and there's a lot of flow with it too. I tend to be a very flowy person just in general. So yeah, I don't take things as seriously anymore now that I have made peace with death. And knowing that life always takes care of my needs means that I also know that life always takes care of other people's needs too. So I no longer feel burdened with the responsibility of taking care of others. Um, Life moves through me, and I act in ways that feel right to me and trust my inner compass. And the result is that I am able to, meet responsibilities and provide for my daughter, and, pay bills and whatever, at this point in time. However, if that were not the case, I would just have faith that life will meet those needs in, whatever those needs are, um, in another way, because I can't believe that life is going to take care of me but not other people. That doesn't make sense. So, whatever other people's journey is, whatever other people's path is, um, in a way that's between them and life. And I live in a place of love, and, in the energy of abundance. And if there's, an experience that comes up that is not pleasant, um, I give myself to that too. I let myself just experience that. And when parts of me are hurting or scared or whatever the situation, I hold them in love, and, I don't try to change it. I just let them feel what they feel and offer myself any kind of support that I can as I go through that. So that's my approach. And I guess I could wrap the video up now. I don't think there was anything else that I was going to say. I kind of just flow with it anyway. I don't really plan videos out like super a lot. So if you have any comments, I welcome feedback. And, if you're in that place right now, if you're grieving, or if you're, if you have like a health scare, or don't know how you're going to pay your rent, or, where food is going to come from. And that's scary. That's really scary. What I've found is that those scared parts of us need to know that no matter what happens, we are going to be with them. We're not going to abandon them, neglect them, and we're not going to blame them or punish them, no matter what happens. So that makes it a lot easier, I think, to go through a difficult time if we're not blaming ourselves for it at the same time. And if there is a part of us that is blaming us, that's okay too. But like the core self, like who I am, at my core, not the scared parts, not the hurting parts, not the parts that want things, or, think I know what I need. Um, but like my true self, um, has that capacity in any situation to just be at peace and compassionate and loving and caring and supportive and nurturing with every part of myself and other people. So it's pretty much just about love for me in the end. That's what it comes down to. And on a human level, I said I was wrapping this up, I'm still talking. On a human level, human beings need attachments in life. It's like we're wired to get attached, and it's a survival thing to have attachments. So it's very natural for humans to form attachments, and we can have this like spiritual perspective of like how everything's one, and separation is an illusion, and that's true on a certain level, but parts are going to get attached, are going to experience loss, are going to have painful experiences in life, are going to grieve, are going to be afraid, are going to get angry, the whole range. And having access to both of those levels and just letting them be what they are, I think is really important. And you can actually, like I was saying, interact between the levels, be in that place of connectedness and love, and bring that to the hurting parts and take care of them like little kids, the different parts of us are like our children inside of us. So anyways, wrapping it up for real now. Thank you for watching, and take good care of yourself.